Welcome to our CityRise podcast. Today we're going to connect with Buckner Ministries, and Chris is actually, we're doing this inter-city, that he's in Dallas, I'm in Houston. And so I'm going to let Chris introduce himself and tell us kind of what he does with Buckner, and then we'll hear more about what Buckner's up to and how others can join in.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. A pleasure to be with you this morning. Is it morning? It may not be morning where you are watching this, but how about today? My name's Chris Cato. I am a Texan through and through, born and raised here, and I've been with Buckner about 15 years. So I joined when I was 10. So I'm a little older than that. But yeah, I'm a director of missions, and we can get into what all that means. But thank you so much for having me.
Sure. And again, I'm quite a bit older. So I remember Buckner, even in my home church as a teenager. We sang for the senior adults at the Buckner Baptist Haven, which has actually moved since then in Houston. And as a youth pastor in Dallas way back in the mid 80s, went out to the Buckner Children's Home. And so I have good memories of seeing God work in the Buckner family. But your position is director of missions. So, and I know Buckner's got broad variety of scope. So what does that actually mean? What do you do day in and day out?
Yeah, sure. So as the director of missions, my role is to connect with churches, to connect with volunteer groups and organizations, and really make sure that they have, we design mission experiences for them to get plugged in to serve all across Texas, and in the 6 or 7 different countries that we operate in. Now, what does that look like? Well, you mentioned that we're an old organization, and that would be true. We were founded by a Baptist preacher in 1879.
Wow.
And so he came to Texas seeking a better environment for his health. He was from Tennessee. Came here and was just convicted, was overwhelmed, would be the right word, by the needs of vulnerable children in the state. It was post Civil War. And you had a lot of kids that were orphaned because of disease or because of the war. And so he gathered a bunch of his preacher buddies together in the area. They met underneath an oak tree, and he told them, he's like, "All right, gentlemen, like, we've got to do something about this." And so he passed the hat and collected $27 and founded our company in 1879.
Wow. All right. So I know you've done children's homes, children's work. You've done senior adult living. What other scope? How else do you guys interact with the communities?
Yeah, sure. So we break our services down in kind of 4 categories. So that's protect children, strengthen families, transform generations, and serve seniors. So when he started our company, our founder, Pastor Buckner, when he started our company, it was all about caring for orphan children, and vulnerable children. That's still the heartbeat of our company, is vulnerable children. Yeah. But we've added to that. It's like, well, where do vulnerable children come from? Well, there's families, right? Yeah. And so how can we maybe prevent that kid from winding up in foster care, or winding up separated from biological mom and dad? So that's our Strengthen Families, part of our company. Transform Generations. We're working with all sorts of different youth to help them level up and not fall back into the same cycles that maybe their parents or their grandparents are in. Helping them really write their own future. And then serve seniors. You're right. We've got retirement communities around. And so I was talking to one of our previous coworkers who used to work in the communications department. So I think maybe I can say this, but like, if you look at from like cradle to grave, I mean, there's a Buckner service opportunity, really targeted at every age bracket.
So. All right. Now, you mentioned Texas, but you also mentioned international. So, which cities in Texas would you guys have a presence, and what other countries?
Yeah, so there's a bunch. I'll probably miss a few, but we'll go Dallas Fort Worth. We are in Houston, newly in San Antonio. That's coming online quickly. The Rio Grande Valley, so
Hmm.
South Texas. We are in Longview, Lufkin, Midland, Amarillo. I probably Lubbock. I probably missed another one. Um,
Wow.
San Angelo. We've got a Buckner retirement facility in San Angelo. So yeah, we're kind of spread around.
Okay. Well, good. And again, this will go out to our network, so many partners will be listening to this. How can they plug in? What are ways practically that they can come alongside in any of these cities, or maybe even internationally, to help meet the needs of kids, or to encourage young people, or even seniors?
Yeah, sure. So really when you look at how we're serving people, it is uh, it is it's a lot of shoulder on shoulder work. I mean, social services is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work. People are complicated.
Right.
You know, people have experiences, life experiences, and they're in different phases of their faith journey, and that adds complication to it, right? We're messy people. I know I'm a messy person, you know, and we serve folks that are messy just like us, right? And so a lot of our ministry it's shoulder on shoulder, and it's long term. And so some of the ways that we use volunteers in that, I'll talk about some of our South Texas ministry for a sec. So we have in our Strengthening Families program, we have these facilities called Family Hope Centers.
Mhm.
And the idea of a Family Hope Center is um, is that we serve families that are at risk. They haven't quite fractured yet. There's no abuse or neglect in the home yet, but there's risk factors, right? And it could be economic risk
Mhm.
factors, it could be educational risk factors. There's a number of different things. But the idea is that if we can get to families early, and we can serve them through different core classes like faith and finances. We teach English as a second language to help people be able to get jobs. We teach jobs for
Right.
life, and then kind of our I would say one of our key ingredients is family coaching. And
Mhm.
so we'll have a social worker that will walk side by side with the family and get to know them and say, hey, what are you good at as a family? What are some of your strengths? What are some things that you want to work on as a family? And where do you want to end up in
Mhm.
5 years, 10 years, right? And so they design a transformation plan for these families and say, and over the course of 18 months, 2 years, they walk together, and then hopefully we can strengthen families so that abuse or neglect never happens, and
Yeah.
so foster care never becomes part of those kids' stories.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, and so in a family hope center, we've got volunteer opportunities for mentorships, for after school mentorships. On the mission side, we are heavy into home construction.
Okay.
The home environment is a huge part of where children form their worldview, and
Mhm.
they feel safe when they come home after a hard day. And so
Right.
we address the structure. And so we're using church teams from all across Texas, and then we just hosted a church from New York.
Mm.
We've hosted churches from Virginia, so we will host you from where you call home,
Mhm.
and plug you into our healthy housing ministry,
Okay.
so that we can provide stable and healthy housing for families.
Okay. Well, how can they find you? Go ahead and give us your web presence, the best way for them to get more information and actually to connect.
Sure, Buckner.org is our website. And if you're specifically looking at missions, you can reach my team. through email, and that's missions@buckner.org.
Okay.
That'd be the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Okay. Well, great. Well, during our podcast, I invariably will ask, can you tell us a story, maybe a life that you saw change? It could be a child, it could be a senior, someone in between, or a family that you were able to observe to say, yeah, because of the investment of Buckner or maybe a volunteer, we saw this person make this growth or this leap into an amazing future.
Oh man, uh, so many stories, um, come to mind. Um, we'll go with this one. Um, so there's a woman, and I'll change her name just to protect her privacy, but uh, we'll call her Andy. She was a she's a native English speaker, and married a guy who speaks Spanish, and they moved down to South Texas, and so she was placed in a community that was out of her culture. That was language barrier, different culture barriers, right? And that was hard. She loved her husband, but there were a lot of stresses there, culturally and language wise. Um, she had a history of drug abuse. She
Mm.
had a history of alcohol abuse, and just didn't make some great choices as a young kid and as an adult. But then found herself delivering pizzas
Mm.
to one of our Family Hope Centers in South Texas. Worked for Domino's, and we'd have these big community events, and we'd order pizza, and then she would come and deliver pizzas. And so I was talking to her, about like, well, how is it that she got connected? And she said, there was just something every time I delivered pizzas here, there was just something different
Mm.
about the people here, about just the vibe in the atmosphere, right? You and I know that's Jesus.
Sure.
So that's the presence of the Holy Spirit is what she was feeling. But she's like, there's just something different about it. And so fast forward about a year, and we held an entrepreneurship incubator. So she and her husband owned a auto repair
Mm.
shop, and so we partnered with a local bank and taught some entrepreneurship classes, and then ran this incubator. And she and her husband wound up winning the competition.
Mm.
Bought some new equipment in order to grow their business. Well, then after that, she signed up for like all the different classes,
Mm.
signed up for family coaching, and we walked with her through coaching. She graduated family coaching, and um, one of the things that she told us, she said, when I came to this community, she kind of uh, she she hated it. She hated
Mm.
she hated the community. But she said, but through Buckner, through the love that we were able to show them, through the power of Jesus Christ, she began to love her community
Wow.
and start reinvesting in her community. And so, upon graduation, she started a nonprofit and a women's ministry.
Mm.
And so she's discipling and teaching women, Bible study and about reinvesting in their community. She's also like a really good woodworker, and so she'll
Mm.
find recycled materials and use some of those business principles, and then turn those recycled materials into products that these she then sells. And then their business, they were able to purchase land and expand their business. Um, and throughout the process, she's had a young child who was 2 at the time, and so just learning parenting skills and
Yeah.
how to really work on their marriage, work on like how to when a 2-year-old does something that you don't like how do you handle that that discipline
Mhm.
versus when that 2-year-old becomes an 18-year-old.
Right.
What do you do? Those are different responses, right?
Sure.
What does the Bible say about that? About me and my wife, and how to serve my family, and the role model that I need to be for my kiddo. You know, and so uh, and she's a rock star.
Yeah.
She came in as an outsider in the community, but now she's seen as a pillar and leader
Yeah.
in that community, and she attributes that to the connection and the skills that she learned, through us being able to do life with her,
Sure.
side by side.
Wow.
So she's, I mean, incredible woman, great family. Um, one of the other ways that we were able to serve her, was through our housing ministry. So upon graduation, all of the people that graduate, that they meet the minimum requirements, they can apply, to our housing program. And so, the number that always, catches me off guard is the number 15. When I came to work for the Department of Missions, they're like, 15 is the number. What's with this number 15? They said, well, in this community in South Texas, it can take 15 years for a family to scrape together enough resourcing to build a house on their own.
Hmm.
So that's 15 years of birthdays, 15 years of life events and celebrations, and the structures that folks are living in while that's happening. It's not great.
Yeah.
We've seen structures that are, RVs that should no longer be lived in, but they're small with leaky roofs, holes in the floor, and then folks will get really creative. They'll cut out a wall and then add on, with galvanized metal,
Hmm.
a bigger room. You see a lot of resourcefulness and
Sure.
creativity, but it's just not healthy
Yeah.
in terms of environment. And so we use churches and volunteers to, instead of 15 years to build a new home, we speed that process up into 6 months.
Hmm.
And so we'll have churches that will, come to South Texas and build, homes with us. And we'll even have churches, and I can talk about this in a little bit. They'll even start some of the framing in their church parking lot,
Wow.
engage the whole church body
Yeah.
in the framing, and then ship it down to South Texas and then
Hmm.
rebuild it.
Yeah.
And so Andy, she was, a recipient of one of those homes. We had partnered with a missionary union, in Texas, and it was actually a women's build. And
Hmm.
so here Andy is, with this heartbeat for women and starting women's ministry, and she finds herself being served by a women's group,
Yeah.
through a home build.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful story, and there's many more like it,
Sure.
but it's just a little bit about her.
Yeah. Well, neat. Well, actually, my wife spent her first 15 years in the Valley. She
Okay.
grew up in Harlingen, and so I visited her old stomping grounds.
Oh
Well,
yes,
good.
yes.
Well, and again, I think a story tells so much more than just data. And so, as our listeners heard different parts of that, they can help with mentoring, with coaching, with building. And tell us again how they can find you online. I want to be sure that that's going to be handy when we get wrapped up here in a few moments.
Yeah, sure. So it's Buckner, Buckner, Buckner.org is our website. And you can email if you're interested in serving through missions, you can get involved with us. Missions@buckner.org is our
All
email
right.
address.
Super.
Yep.
All right. And the last question I often ask is, what should I have asked? What would you want our listeners to know that we haven't covered yet before we sign off?
Yeah, sure. So, about our healthy housing ministry, um, you know, I think you could ask, how does this whole, you start a project in a church parking lot and
Hmm.
send it? Like, how does that work? Mark, I'm so glad you asked that question. Thank you. Uh, um, so you know, during COVID, like, the world stopped. Like, we were not able to go anywhere or really do anything.
Hmm.
And so, one of our heartbeats of our missions team is to connect you and your church with ministry somewhere else, either overseas or within Texas. So it's like, well, during the pandemic and shortly thereafter, like we couldn't facilitate any of those mission experiences. We couldn't, but we still had families that were in desperate need of healthy housing. So we worked with a church, it's First Baptist Church in Lufkin,
Yeah.
Little Lufkin, Texas. Worked with them. They had developed over years. They had developed this system where they'd taken our floor plan and they had engineered it in a way where it can be it's modularized, and so you can build the foundation sections, you can build the wall sections, and you can stack it on a flatbed truck and send it down. And so we worked with them and another church, Cottonwood Creek church here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, to really get all that information out of their heads. I mean, they knew what they were doing, and we would just stay out of their way. Oh, it's like, oh, the boys from Lufkin are in town. All right, well, like, what do you need? We'll get you all the materials, but we
Right.
would just stay out of their way. Well, during COVID, we said, hey, you know what? We need to get them to teach us how they do that. And so we formalized the process, and so now we call it remote. It's a remote build. Yeah, and so churches can and we'll customize the project based on what the church what the church's discipleship goals are. But you can build the foundation and you can build the wall framing in your church parking lot.
Hmm.
And we'll pair you with a mentor church to walk you through all the material ordering and to get you equipped. We've got fantastic network of builders that have done this for a long time and are good at it. But we'll pair you with a church partner to be mentored, and then we'll walk with you every step of the way to make sure that you're successful. And so we've had folks show up at a construction site with zero construction experience and be incredibly useful. And so instead of sending, maybe 15 folks from your church on a mission trip, you can engage, 150, 200 people
Right.
in a service project, at your church facility.
Hmm.
And so that's just opened up so many more people joining us in the mission, joining us in serving and being the hands and feet of Jesus that otherwise would never have gone to the valley
Sure.
or never gone on a mission trip. There's this one church here in the Dallas area. This woman showed up to one of their job sites and was so excited about it. She came to work on Monday and was just telling all of her coworkers about, oh my gosh, we're building this house. It's for this family in South Texas. Here's a little bit about the family. And one of her coworkers was like, well, that's interesting. And her coworker was Hindu. She said, well, can I come help you build? She's like, wait a second, you want to come to my Jesus following church and like serve? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so her Hindu coworker came. One thing led to another, and she joined a Bible study.
Right.
And so God is doing things that we
Sure.
never even dreamed about, where the gospel is spreading like through churches that are using this missions opportunity to spread the gospel in their neighborhoods and their workplaces, which is, God's just so good. He consistently blows our minds
Sure.
with like what His vision is, and it's so much bigger than what ours is.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you for joining us, Chris, and all of our partners out there. Check out Buckner. You can go to their website and just see if the Lord may lead you to build a church in your parking lot or a home in your parking lot and join in some of these other ministries. So, again, thank you for joining us. God bless
Of course.
Buckner. God bless you, Chris. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.